surprising. Darth calling me out. I did leave a couple of comments in the live stream. Should be good to go now. All right. Got my laugh track ready. Hopefully I don't have to use it. Thanks, user 6317706251418. Oh boy, that's a mouthful. Why did your parents name you that? Man, what the hell? Educational background. My bachelor's degree is in biology education. My master's degree is in education with an emphasis in curriculum and instruction and educational technology. Easy. If that's how you feel, then you have to get in the box. How's my Saturday going? So far, so good. It'll this is where my day goes to be ruined. So we'll see. I was just watching you on Deconstruction Zone when I got the notification. Well, praise Spanky for this for it can't be a coincidence. This is how we know that Spanky is the one true creator. Do you have a problem if someone practices religion but doesn't try and push it on others? Not really. I don't describe myself as an anti-theist. Any celebrations planned for Pi Day? No, not particularly. That is, when is the 14th? I think I'm actually doing a live stream with not the Atheist Experience, but a sister channel of theirs called Truth Wanted. So that's what I'll be doing, I guess. Hopefully we talk about science. And then feel like this is masochism, me having to subject myself to all this. I do get a ton of comments about people saying, I have no idea how you do this to yourself over and over and over again. But anyways, back to Pi Day. Fun fact, Pi Day is Albert Einstein's birthday and the day Stephen Hawking died. So this is how we know that pi is a divine number. There we go. Why creationism is dumb? Because it's as dumb as thinking the earth is flat. Thinking the earth is only a few thousand years old and man and woman walked hand in hand with dinosaurs in the garden. It's very silly. The Bible says we all came from dust of the earth. Science says we came from dust of the earth. That's really not how that works at all.
Hello?
Hello? Yeah, what's up?
I was gonna pick a topic. You said there's no evidence for God.
That is what I said, yeah.
Okay, so you could just use it. I would argue God is a maximally great being. A maximally great being is possible.
Sorry, I got a phone call right when you started talking. Sorry about that. What but you said you would use the laws of logic to prove that a God exists?
Yes.
Okay. So
Yeah, so God is a maximally great being. Maximally great
says
being.
who?
What happened?
Can you substantiate that premise?
That God is defined as a maximally great being.
Yeah.
A maximally great being is just what I call God.
Okay. So that doesn't so by logically prove God exists, you mean you can come up with an argument that where the things that you define come out of the premises and are it's just a deductive argument?
Yes, it's a deductive argument. Yes.
Okay, so if I said, if God exists, then the God defeating penguin exists, therefore God doesn't exist. That's a deductive argument.
That doesn't follow.
Neither do your statements.
So how does my statement not follow?
Because you're just claiming, wait, why does mine not follow? If God exists, then the God defeating penguin necessarily must exist. So if God exists, then the God defeating penguin immediately makes God not exist. There's no contradiction in any of that.
So yeah, your first premise doesn't your second premise doesn't follow with the rest of the premises, right?
Yeah, it does. Because if God exists, then the God defeating penguin makes God begin to not exist immediately.
Hold on, let me finish, right? Because again, if God is a necessary being that exists, right, and then you bring up another being to defeat the necessary being is just a blatant contradiction, right? Because a necessary
It's not a contradiction. There can be two necessary beings.
Let me finish. I know, but you're saying one necessary.
Well, if you know, then okay, nothing else to talk about.
You said that your necessary being defeated another necessary being, right? But how can these two how can a necessary being defeat another necessary being?
That's how I choose to define them.
Hold on. If both of their existence must be true.
Yeah, that's how I choose to define them.
You see, okay, the way you define it is a contradiction. Like everything
No.
just that whole entire argument was just like blatant contradiction argument, right? Like,
No,
okay,
I choose to define it this way.
A necessary being defeating another necessary being, right? But
Yeah.
both necessary beings must be true, right? Both necessary beings must exist. You don't know what you're talking about.
No, because mine makes yours not exist.
How does it make mine not exist, right? If they're both
because it's the God defeating penguin. That's its nature. It makes yours not exist.
But both must exist by them simply being necessary beings. You're talking nonsense.
No.
What you're saying?
No, because the moment yours begins to exist, mine makes it not exist. It's this all happens. I don't you seem to be confused. You seem to not understand basic philosophy. All of this happens outside of time as we understand it. It's without time. So this whole thing of they exist at the same time, that's actually completely irrelevant. These are eternal beings, and so when the moment yours begins to exist, the necessary being makes it not exist immediately, and it's outside of time, so haha, it doesn't count. It doesn't work that way, haha.
Hold on, how do you know that God began to exist?
I don't know it. It's just that if God began to exist, then it would immediately stop existing.
If you don't know that God began to exist, how can you say that? How can you say that God began to exist? You don't know what you're talking about. Like, bro, what?
Hey, what is your religion? Are you agnostic?
What, are there two jabronis talking to me all of a sudden?
This is my homeboy.
Oh, okay.
Are you agnostic
He's just asking a question.
or atheist? Because me personally, I'm agnostic.
I'm an agnostic atheist.
Well, yeah, so you lean more towards the atheist side. But me, I lean more towards the hoping that there is a God because, to be honest, despite what my friend says, you really can't prove anything. You're not going to be able to prove anything at all. but it's more
Like
just,
what? No, I literally proved that God can't exist because the God-defeating penguin
so
makes it begin to not exist the moment it tries to exist.
we have no possible understanding if there is or isn't a God.
Yeah, but this valid deductive argument proves that it can't exist. Or do valid deductive arguments prove nothing other than the argument?
It proves nothing other than the argument. What is proof?
Exactly. There you go. So go ahead and tell me whatever you wanted to tell me about your God. And then, but since we all understand that that doesn't prove literally anything at all, then I'm not really sure why we're going with this, but go ahead.
Define proof.
No, tell me, give me the argument that your God exists.
Bro, like, you want me to tell you how God exists?
See, this is the shifting of the burden of proof that always comes with these people. You won't describe anything. Instead, you'll deflect and say, yeah, but you don't know blank. You don't know blank. You don't know blank. You don't know blank. An argument from ignorance is when you pretend, when you engage in an argument from ignorance with your interlocutor, the way it works is you pretend that if you can figure out something they don't know, then that means that you are correct about something. No.
If you don't know,
no, not no. Yes, that is actually how that works. So go ahead and tell us about your proof that God exists. If you want to waste your time, but keep in mind that you did tell us that this doesn't actually prove anything except the argument.
Okay, so what is it? So you have to define proof, right? Because you're saying, I don't think that I'm proving.
This isn't according to me. This is according to you. It's your argument.
But I hold on. Did I make the proposition right? That all I'm proving is the argument?
I don't know what makes you think this is going to go any other way other than you doing what you're told, little jabroni. So go ahead and give us the argument for your God existing.
Okay, I got you.
Thanks.
I thought you was no mind. So I'm gonna say this one more time, right? God is a maximally great being. If there exists a possible world where this maximally great being exists, then this maximally great being must exist in all possible worlds. Our world is a possible world. Therefore, God must exist in our possible world.
Congratulations, you proved your argument. Now, can you give me any evidence that your God exists?
I just gave you the evidence.
No, see, earlier you said the argument does nothing other than prove that the argument, it does nothing but prove the argument. So can you give me any evidence that your God exists?
I never said that, right? I said the argument is what proves God exists.
No, you said the argument proves nothing other than the argument. The one time you've been honest so far is when you said that. So, for example, we could do it this way. Do maximally great beings exist?
No, that was somebody else who asked you questions about like what you're talking
about.
No. I totally believe
do maximally great beings exist?
Is it possible?
Do they exist?
Yes, because they're possible.
Okay. Can the God-defeating penguin exist?
No.
Why not?
Because the God-defeating penguin will have to be something that is necessary. You haven't gave me a reason why it's necessary.
I choose to define it that way, the same way you choose to define that your God is necessary.
You didn't define it. You just simply said maximally great. All you did was say a necessary penguin.
Yeah, I choose to define it to be that way. Just like you choose to define your God to be the maximally greatest being.
I didn't choose to
see how this works? See how anybody can just arbitrarily slap labels on things?
So no, that's not how that works, right? Because
it's literally how that works. It's literally what you did, but for some reason you don't let other people do it. I don't understand why, but that's what's going on here.
Can I talk?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So, yes, you're a maximally great being. You're maximally, whatever you want to call it, maximally great penguin, right?
It's not maximally great. It's just a necessary being.
Okay, then so it's not necessary.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so what makes it necessary?
It's defined to be that way.
Okay, so what makes it necessary?
It's defined to be that way.
Oh my gosh.
Oh
do you want to know why God is necessary?
Because you choose to define it that way?
No, that's not why.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Then why is it?
God is necessary, right? Because what it means to be maximally great means to have the utmost excellent in properties.
Who said that?
Is that not what maximally great means? Are you defining?
So you're just defining it to be that way? Okay.
I'm not defining it to be that way.
Yes, you are. Well, this isn't your definition. You got it from somebody else, Aquinas, or I don't know where you got this from. But yeah, you just define it to be this way.
I'm not defining it to be this way.
Correct. You're
Something
not the
maximally,
originator of this, but that is
maximally
how it came about.
something maximally great, right, is something that possesses the utmost properties.
Says who?
All I'm saying, what do you mean says who?
Do we know that to be the case, or are you defining it to be that way?
Well, are you saying we don't know what definitions are? Are you saying we don't know what words mean?
I didn't say that. I'm asking
Okay,
you
so
where
do we
this
know what
came
words- hold on.
from. Did
So do we know what words mean?
you
See, look, you're not
keep,
answering none of my-
distracting
do we know
me
what
from
words
what I
Do
well,
we know
I
what
asked
words
you a
mean?
question first, and again you just
Because
deflect.
you said-
So
because you asked
is
me
it
a question,
do we
right?
know this to be the case, or is it just defined to be that
Do we
way?
know what? What
That
maximally
your
great
God
means?
is this maximally great, or well, not even that your God is the maximally great being, but do we know that a necessary being has the properties you say it does, or is it just defined to be that way?
Well, repeat that. My bad. Repeat that.
Do we know that a maximally great or that a necessary being has the properties you say, or is that just how it's defined to be?
We know this
And how do we know that?
because what is maximally great is possible.
Because it's defined to be that way. There you go. So you start going into definitions. There you go. So I will arbitrarily define something that makes your God not exist.
You have to be quiet and let me finish. Right? I'm gonna explain to you again. Right? The reason why we know this to be the case, right, is because what is possibly necessary is necessary. A maximally great being is a being that possesses the utmost.
Do we know that, or is that just how it's defined to be that way?
We know that. That's the laws of logic.
And how do we know that?
Because it's the laws of logic. Like, bro, what? Have you ever heard of modal terms, modal operators, modal logic?
No. Could you please tell me?
Yeah, modal logic has to do with what is impossible, what is possible, and what is possible.
Okay, God is impossible because the God defeating penguin makes it so God can't exist.
Okay, then you have to explain what makes this God defeating penguin necessary. You're not explaining no properties that make it necessary.
I choose to define it to be that way. It is that which makes God not exist. Therefore God can't exist.
You can't choose a contingent being to be necessary. You have to explain to me as to why.
It's not contingent.
Okay, then so why is it necessary?
Because I choose to define it to be that way.
my
It
God.
has the properties of a necessary being.
Okay, then so it's just God.
No, it defeats
Okay, so it's
God.
not God. So it does not have the properties of a necessary being.
That's not what a necessary being is. A necessary being is that which is a God defeating penguin and makes God not exist.
Okay, so you're just throwing different definitions.
Yes, exactly what you do.
So
Yes.
you're throwing false definitions on words.
No, these aren't false
So they're
definitions.
not false definitions.
Do you know what logic? That the God defeating penguin has the properties that a necessary being
Okay, then
has.
so give me the logic. You haven't given me anything. You're just making bold claims. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, who's doing that? You, me, or both?
You're literally
And you're not doing that because
no, I'm not, because I gave you logical reasoning as to why God is a maximally great being. You haven't given me any reason as to why this being is
you gave me an argument for it, but that doesn't prove anything other than the argument.
Okay, then so what is proof? Like, bro, I've been asking you questions all day. You're not answering anything.
Isn't proof just information that increases the likelihood or confirms a conjecture?
Well, in a way, yes.
Okay.
But you also have to.
So I proved by deduction that the God defeating penguin exists, and your God can't
No, you
exist.
did not.
Yes, I did.
You did
It
not.
has the properties of that which it does, that which it has, that which it does, and so therefore God doesn't exist.
How do you know that it has? How do you know it has such things?
It's called logic, bro. I don't know if you know this or not, but it has the properties of the thing that would make it exist the way I'm choosing to define it to exist as.
Thank you. You just made a bold claim. What properties does it have?
The necessary properties that it must have.
Like what? What is the properties?
It makes God not exist.
Okay, so how is that a necessary property?
Because I choose to define it that way, just like you choose to define maximally great as being what a necessary thing is. I choose to define it that way by complete arbitration, exactly like what you do.
How's my argument arbitrary?
Because it's not true. It's only true by definition.
How is it not true? How is it only true by definition?
Because you choose to define it that way.
Choose to define what that way? God?
Why can a necessary being not be maximally great?
You can repeat that what?
Why can a necessary being not be maximally great?
I never said that.
Yes, you did.
No, I did not.
You said a necessary being is one that is maximally great. So the opposite of that would be what I just said.
No. What it means for something to simply be necessary, right? Just means that it must be possible in every possible, or it must be true. So like, there could be something that is necessary, but doesn't have all utmost excellence and properties. Like the laws of logic, for example. The laws of logic don't have.
Or the God-defeating penguin, yeah.
But you have to explain to me as to why this is a necessary thing.
I choose to define it that way.
Okay. So what is necessary?
What
about
whatever I want it to mean.
What about it is necessary?
It's eternal, and I choose to define it that way.
Okay, so it's eternal, right?
Sure.
Okay, great. That's great.
I will choose to say that that's one of the properties that it has.
So what you're describing to me, right, is just that necessary existence exists, right? But you're not giving me any reason as to why this necessary existence will be like some type of like God defeating creator, right? And then as
I choose to define it that way.
Hold on, and as I already told you, right, having two necessary beings, right, and one necessary being defeating the other necessary being is simply just a contradiction. Because
no,
a necessary being.
No, this is outside of time. It works differently. You don't understand the nature of the God-defeating penguin. Well, no, I don't want you to waste your time, because what you're going to say is a complete non sequitur. Because cause and effect and time, they don't work the way you think they do for the God-defeating penguin. Yes, it is. Because you're going to talk about them existing simultaneously, and you're going to say that that's a contradiction. But no, this is outside of time, so it doesn't count. Haha, nana, nana, boo, boo.
I never said both of them existing, right, is a contradiction.
Yes,
right?
You did.
I said no. I said that having a necessary being defeating another necessary being is a contradiction. You have to learn how to listen sometime, man. You have to learn how to listen. Now, the reason why this is a contradiction, right, is because a necessary being, by what it means to be a necessary being, means that it must be true, or that it must exist. So for you to say that something can,
the God-defeating penguin must exist.
Hold on. For you to say that something must be necessary, for you to say that something must be necessary, right, and that it could defeat another necessary being, right, would simply mean that whatever. No,
your God isn't necessary because it got defeated.
So give me a contradiction as to why God is not necessary.
Because it just isn't necessary. The God-defeating penguin makes it not exist.
So I should just
it can't be necessary because the God-defeating penguin necessitates it ceasing to exist immediately.
Okay, then now you have to prove that. Now you have to prove that the necessary penguin, right, is what makes God contingent.
No, I don't. It's guaranteed by the argument.
How is it guaranteed by the argument if both is a necessary being?
If God exists, then the God-defeating penguin necessarily must exist.
Why is that the case?
Because that's what a necessary penguin does. It defeats God.
So you just want me to trust me, bro, here? Yeah.
See, what I'm doing, I don't even believe in the God-defeating penguin, but I'm just co-opting your argument into a different form.
You're doing such a fallacious argument. It's so bad. This is probably the worst argument I've ever heard. Right? Because I've already told you, like,
it's the second worst argument you've ever heard. Yours is the first. This is the second.
Listen, your argument is so bad, all right, that you don't even see that blatant contradiction in your argument, right? Like,
it's not a contradiction.
You just said God. Right?
Your God isn't necessary. The penguin makes it not exist, so it can't be necessary.
Why is God?
What the fuck are you talking about?
Why is God not necessary?
Because the God-defeating penguin makes it not exist.
Okay, great. So why does the God-defeating penguin make it not exist? If
that's its nature.
Hold on. If it's already a necessary being,
that's its nature.
How? Okay. So its nature is to destroy a necessary being. That's a contradiction.
It's just not. Also, does evil exist?
How do you not see it? How do you not see it?
I think I can show you. Does evil exist?
Evil is not a thing.
Does evil exist?
Evil is not a thing. Okay,
so then there's no such thing as morality, according to you.
What? How does that make it? How does that follow? How does that follow?
Chat, what is it doing?
How does that follow?
What is it doing? So you actually don't believe that evil exists? Does good exist?
Evil is just a privation of good. So it's not a thing itself. It's dependent on such a thing. It's not a thing itself.
So good exists?
Yes, good exists.
Can good not exist?
Good must exist because God is good.
Can good not exist?
No, good must exist.
So you have two necessary things here. Great. Goodness and God. So welcome to the land of contradictions.
What?
It's nice here
So how does that follow? Where do you get that from?
because you have two necessary things.
How is that
You
two
just
necessary
said so.
Good is within the essence of God.
You said good can't not exist. So there we go.
You know why
Good-
good
good-
cannot
good.
exist? Because good is within the essence of God. It is identical to God.
Okay.
Right? I'm pretty sure you heard in the Bible, right? When Jesus specifically states, right, that no one is good but God alone. Right? So what is this? What is this entailing, right? This is entailing
That Jesus is not God.
This is entailing, right?
That's directly what that entails, actually.
This entails that the very standard of what is good is God. So, like, obviously, if good is identical to God's nature and it's within God's nature, then what does that mean? That good itself must be something that exists. That's just logic. That's just how it follows. All right. So I don't even know what you're talking about. Yeah, of course. All evil is, right? It's just his moral. It's just moral nature. It's just a privation of his moral nature. That's all evil is. It's not a thing within itself.
Okay. Does Satan exist?
Does Satan exist?
Yeah.
Let's say yes. Like, what?
Can Satan not exist?
Huh?
Can Satan not exist?
What do you mean? Can Satan not exist?
It's just such a second grade question, so I literally cannot dumb it down for you. Can Satan not exist?
I would say yes. He's a contingent being. Yes. That's what you want to
So
say.
Satan could possibly not exist?
Well, was he not created? Was he not created?
Yeah, so the question is, could Satan not exist?
Was Satan a created being?
The actual question is, could Satan not exist?
Yes.
Okay, so why did God choose to create Satan?
How am I supposed to know God's thoughts? Like, like, yeah, that's like me asking you, right?
So you don't know anything about your God, but you're going to tell me that it exists. Okay.
Like, what? Why did God create humans? Well, I guess he just wanted to see humans flourish. I don't know, bro. Like, how am I?
Okay. You don't know anything about your God, but you're going to tell me it exists. That's kind of goofy. What do you want to talk about?
What happened?
What do you want to talk about?
What do I want to talk? What do you mean? What I want to talk about?
Again, that was like a kindergarten level question, so that one I really can't dumb down. What do you want to talk about?
What are you lost about?
I'm not lost. I asked you, what do you want to talk about? And you're asking me for clarification. There's like, I can't clarify that for you. What do you want to talk about?
This is 60 different people.
What is the weight? The earth is not flat.
What the fuck is going on?
What is your debate?
What do you want to talk about?
Why are you trying to confuse people, bro? What are you?
I've never seen somebody try to obfuscate and fill bro when somebody asks them, what would you like to talk about? I've never seen this before. What do you want to talk about?
What is your argument?
What is it doing? Chat, what is it doing?
You don't even know what you're putting on TikTok.
Chat, what is it doing? What would you like to talk about? The ball is in your court. What would you like to talk about?
This is a whole different person, bro. I'm asking you, what is your debate? I'm trying to see where your head at.
I don't initiate any of the debates. The guests come in and we talk about whatever they want to talk about, which is why I'm saying, what do you want to talk about?
I'm trying to see what was the argument with that with my boy.
With what?
See, he's trying to act so confused. Okay. Argument, and then I'm gonna go in.
I don't even know who I'm talking to. You won't answer the question of what do you want to talk about, and then you're saying that I'm trying to confuse people. Like this is
no evidence of God. No evidence of God.
He's gotta be AI. He's an NPC.
How many jabronis you got over there? I think I just heard like a third voice that I haven't heard yet.
It's just three of us right now.
Okay.
So, all right, hold on. Do you think God is real?
No.
Okay, what is your evidence supporting that?
I don't believe in God. Nobody's ever given me any sufficient evidence to think that any God exists.
Okay, so hold on. So, do you believe that you're on the internet right now?
Yeah.
So, if you can believe that you're on the internet, how do you know that you're using internet right now? How do you know that you're using internet?
Because I know what internet is.
Exactly. You don't know who God is. There's a difference. If you don't,
so then I have no reason to believe in it. Do you believe in?
God said those who
What?
know me, they know me.
Do you believe in that?
Call them by their names. If you don't know God, that means God don't know you.
Excuse me.
God knows
What
you.
I said was, do you know what is?
I know he a troll.
Do you know what that is? Because if you don't know what that is, then you can't say you don't believe in it.
You're on the internet, but you don't believe that there's a God. But you see the internet.
Yeah, because I don't even know what a God is. It's an incoherent term.
Exactly. If you don't know who he is, then how will he ever build a relationship with you? That makes no sense. That's like saying you don't know me, right? But I'm talking to you.
That sounds like a problem for him and his divine hiddenness. Doesn't sound like a problem for me.
It's gonna be a problem with you when the world ends, and it's gonna get real. And then he's gonna be like, remember you was talking on live with those two individuals? And you're gonna be like, yeah, I remember I was on the internet. He's gonna be like, all right, it's too late.
Dude, if Jesus exists, he would fucking hate you, okay?
Nah. Jesus loves everybody. That's why he died for people.
Okay,
like,
well then I have nothing to worry about.
He died for people on the internet trying to mislead people and confuse people. He died for people like me and you. But you think that you're on the internet, you have
man.
talk live that you got some type of power. That doesn't amount to anything.
I never said anything about that. If Jesus died for the internet, then that means Al Gore is a minor prophet.
Trying to twist words. This how I go to when you say something to somebody, right? You try to plant a seed. They hear one thing, but then they twist.
Don't fucking plant no seed in me, bro. I don't bat for that team.
They try to manipulate the masses. You see, he got 270 people on here, right? But he talking about, oh, God is not real. I don't believe that. And other people that
they don't.
Maybe he is right. All the little kids are gonna be like, maybe he is right. That's what happens, bro. That's what happens. And that's what Satan does. He's a mocker. Satan lies.
Oh man.
I know what's going on with the social media. Watch this.
They're not even talking to me anymore at this point.
I got Peterson.
Yeah, what's up?
So you want to talk about something? Let's argue this, right? It's child abuse.
Okay, Q-Top.
Atheism is child abuse.
Yeah, okay, Q-Top.
You want to know why atheism is child abuse?
Because atheism preaches that humans have no inherent meaning, which it doesn't. Again, I've heard the Q-Top argument before.
Hold on, no. It preaches that you have no.
It doesn't preach anything. It's not a worldview.
It preaches, right?
You're already wrong. It doesn't preach anything.
Let me finish. It preaches your kids, right, that everything they do, that they have no that they have no moral standard for anything that they do.
It doesn't preach
So
that.
you'll be teaching your kid, right, that
it doesn't preach. Go ahead and ramble, and then I'll explain to you why this is stupid when you're done. Go ahead.
Under your worldview, right? We can argue that is justified. We can just say that the position is
the Bible literally gives prescriptions for rape. So nice try.
The last days, scoffers will come scoffing and following their own evil desires. That's what he's doing, bro. No, God's not real. It's like a box.
Okay, so what you're actually doing here is you're merely presupposing that your moral framework is the only moral framework. But then what you're doing is you're saying a position, atheism is just a rejection of one specific thing. But then you're saying the rejection of another belief contains within it outside prescriptions. It absolutely does not, okay? You could take your argument and say the exact same thing about whatever you want. You could say capitalism. Capitalism doesn't have any moral laws. Therefore, under capitalism, it's fine to do X, Y, or Z. Therefore, capitalism is evil. Do you understand why it's very stupid to say something like that?
Well, no, right?
You don't understand? Okay, well then I can't help you. What do you want to talk about next?
I'll explain to you, right? Because
no, you don't understand, so you can't explain it to me. What do you want to talk about next?
Because what you said made no sense, right?
To you, I think, yeah, that I can understand that didn't make sense to you, but it did make sense.
Let me finish, right?
Chat, if that made sense, type 1.
It didn't make sense.
If it didn't make sense, type anti-disestablishmentarianism. Again, if it made sense, type 1. If it didn't make sense, type anti-disestablishmentarianism. Nobody is typing anti-disestablishmentarianism so far.
So I'll explain to you why. Why it doesn't make sense, right? So the reason why what you said doesn't make any sense, right? Because the reason why we say that the reason why child abuse has no moral compass, right, is because no, I said child abuse. Atheism has no moral compass, right? It's because atheism has no moral standard of
Yeah.
wisdom.
So then get your moral standards from something else.
What would you get it from? That is not subjective.
You could get it from anything.
That is not. Oh, okay. So thank you. You basically just proved my point. If you can literally get your morals from anything, right? Then I can get my morals from a culture, right? That literally says that raping people is okay. Yeah, or eating.
The Bible does say that. So I don't know what you think is going. I don't know what moral high ground you think you have.
You literally specifically said that you can get your morals from literally anything.
So now he contradicted himself.
You literally just.
What the hell was that?
You literally just said you can get your morals from anything.
You guys got the fucking penguin in there too? You got 3 jabronis and the penguin. Okay. You guys should form a band.
No, I'm sorry, bro. You blew my mind just now, bro. Like
You're welcome.
You literally just said you can get your morals from anything, right? I give you something. I
don't know what you thought that meant, but what's the reason I said that is because you're pretending either Christian morals exist or no morals exist. That's not the case.
That's not what I'm saying. It's either that there exists a moral standard or there don't exist a moral standard, right?
And what is the moral standard? God?
What you're denying, right, is that a moral standard exists, right? So
I do kind of sort of deny that.
Okay, so if you deny that a moral standard exists, what does that mean? That means you have no standard for morals.
It means that
anything, right?
No, that's not what that means.
Yes, it does.
No, that's not what that means.
Yes, it does. That's what it means.
So if there's nothing ultimately good, right? Then how do you decide what is good and what is bad? Okay, hold on. I want you to explain me without using God, right? Explain to me, define good for me without God.
Again, you're presupposing that God is goodness and that nothing else is an option.
I got a recruiter who can help you out, bro.
A recruiter? What?
You're gonna realize what God is.
I don't know what that means. So the problem with this is, according to you, if God says to grape people, then according to you, that is good.
What happened?
If God told you to grape people, then according to you, it would be good.
I will say that God wouldn't. First, I will argue that God wouldn't even tell me.
Okay, well then God is bound by moral laws, and they don't come from God.
Oh my gosh, I've already told you, bro.
You didn't tell me shit.
He's not bound to anything. He takes and he gives.
We've already told you this, right? God is the very standard of.
So if God chooses to use another man to take a woman's virginity away from her, that's fine, because the good Lord giveth and taketh away.
Let me finish.
Hey, you need to go out to the forge, bro.
Let me finish, bro.
Go out to the forest? What, like in Japan? That wasn't a very nice thing for you to say to me. So anyways, if God told you to do something like grape somebody, would that be bad?
First of all, I'll argue, right? That God
Bro's literally about to clutch a 3v1. A 3 plus penguin v1. Would it be bad?
Can you be quiet? Can you be?
If God told you to grape somebody, would it be bad?
Can you let me finish?
It's a yes or no question.
It's not a yes or no question.
Yes, it is. If God told you to do that, would it be good?
He wouldn't even tell you to do that in the first place.
That's why there's.
So you know them. Remember earlier when you said you don't know the mind of God? Now you're pretending that you do.
That's why there's a separation between good and evil, though. There's something that tells something that tells somebody out there in the world to do something crazy, and there's something that tells somebody not to. It's the difference. It's good and evil, bro.
Yeah, and you don't know which is which. You don't know if the devil is telling you to do things or if God is telling you to do things.
That's why you gotta have discernment. You would know that if you follow God. You would know the good difference between good and evil and the rights and wrongs that you should do while you're on this earth. You would know that.
No, you have no way of knowing if you are doing Satan's work or God's work, because Satan could just be tricking you.
Exactly. The same way.
Exactly. Okay. Well, then you you cannot morally grandstand. So I don't know why you're up here pretending that you can.
Between God's voice and Satan's voice. That's the difference.
No, you don't.
Right now. Yes, I do.
How?
When Satan talks to you, you do things that's out of your regular order. When God talks to you, you walk in a certain way. So
who told Abraham to sacrifice his son, given that that's not something that humans regularly do?
That was to prove that was to prove his loyalty to God.
So you have no idea if that was God or Satan. Okay.
The same way God wouldn't tell me to grape somebody, and I'm gonna go grape somebody.
Okay, so God is bound by moral law, and they don't come from God.
He was trying to test his faith.
What he
He
said,
never
what
let
he
him
said?
go through with it.
I don't know what he said. He's just
Say it again. Say it again.
If God is incapable of giving an immoral commandment, then God is constrained by moral law, and it doesn't come
Moral
from
laws
him.
within God's nature. I've already told you.
Exactly. That's within his nature. Look at Jesus. Jesus.
You don't understand you don't understand the Euthyphro dilemma, which is embarrassing because it's been around for 3,000 years.
Of course, he's unable to go against his very nature.
Then
right?
he's
His very
bound.
nature is what is God. Right?
Then it doesn't matter what God, if
God
God's
to go
nature is
against
goodness, then
himself.
everything God does is good, which means God is perfectly capable of commanding you to do anything, and no matter what it would be good.
No, God can only command you to do only good things.
Then God is bound by moral law, and
That's
it doesn't
not God
come
being
from
bound.
God.
Are you asking God to be bound to himself? Obviously, God's nature is an unchanging nature.
You guys,
So when you specifically state when you say that he's bound to morals, are you saying that he's bound to himself? Well,
If God was bound to
No.
himself, he wouldn't be able to create the earth that you're standing on, that you're sitting on right now. He wouldn't be able to create the earth if he was bound by
Guys,
certain-
why is God's nature good?
Huh?
Why is God's nature good?
Well, because God's nature is because good because good is what do you mean? Why is God's nature good?
Oh, jeez.
Because the very thing about
I've never seen anybody travel and double dribble in their speech. I've seen it on the basketball court, but I've never seen it on TikTok before.
Have you ever been in love before?
Oh, that was a carry, a travel, and a double dribble all at the same time.
Mr. Peterson,
No,
have you ever
he
been
ain't
in love
been-
before? Stop.
Hey, look at his face.
Have you ever been in love before, Mr.
He's
Peterson?
never been in love.
Twice, yeah.
Twice. How did you know that you were in love? What did you feel? How did you know?
Kind of like this. It's this tickling sensation, kind of like some call it the fizz. It's like right around the prostate area.
That's not love. Around the prostate area.
Yeah, it is.
That's called lust.
That's lust, bro.
That's you just trying to get some.
I know.
Oh man.
That's love.
Oh man. Guys, you really need to look into the Euthyphro dilemma and look at these arguments about where.
The Euthyphro dilemma already been defeated. Right? I've already told you why.
No, it hasn't.
So, Russia gonna get your ass.
The reason why the reason
Hey
why
man, you want to get my ass? That sounds like lust.
the reason
You know how love feels.
the reason why the Euthyphro dilemma doesn't work because it's a false dichotomy. I've already explained to you the false dichotomy too.
You haven't though.
Yeah, it's just simple. We can simply just say that. What?
Do you believe in zodiac signs?
Do I believe in zodiac signs? No.
Yeah.
No.
He's lying.
You're lying. You're lying. Look at your background, bro.
Look at your background.
You're one of
What?
those You're one of those old
The
girls.
back, it's freaking this. I made this with AI, and it's like DNA. These are like little molecules. I don't even know what that's supposed to be. I do not believe in astrology. Astrology is total bullshit.
Technology. Okay, it's technology. So there's an AI, right, that you can use to create pictures that came from nothing, right?
Come on,
That
we
came from
gotta-
data.
We gotta go to the PX, bro.
What-
Yeah.
How do you think man was able to create AI?
You go
Where do you
die.
think AI came
You
from?
go die alone.
What do you think?
With computers.
What do you think the essence of AI is, though?
Did that guy just say I'm gonna die alone? What?
It's the Antichrist.
Oh yeah. So,
Antichrist.
okay, so
Hey, goodbye, man. We leaving. We got an Uber to catch, but join the.
All right. Tell the penguin I said hey. What the Wow, my phone didn't record any of that. I can just get it all off of YouTube later. That was a lot. That was a lot to deal with. I gotta get to a couple of super chats that I wasn't able to deal with these during the conversation. The necessary god defeating penguin is defined as the penguin that defeats necessary gods. There's no contradiction there. Yeah, I mean, I think he had a point that I was trying to invoke, that there are two necessary beings that exist. So you just define God as being unnecessary because the god defeating penguin makes it not exist. This dude has to be a troll. Unbelievable. I don't think they were trolling. I think they were pretty genuine. But oh man, that had so many moments. Oh.
I guess I've just discovered I'm a goddess because I create AI systems.
Yeah, I don't know what that thing about AI was supposed to mean there, but
AI is from God, like, oh, yes, I'm a goddess then.
Those guys were so funny.
I was like, I was just spamming you to say cite Deuteronomy 21:10-14 to them.
Yeah,
it's literally their God telling them that they can rape a woman if they won't.
Yeah. So I don't know how they would have dealt with that. I mean, I tried bringing stuff like that up too, but it's hard to have a conversation with three people. It's almost impossible.
Okay, I was listening and just laughing and thinking, oh, guess I'm a goddess now.
I suppose.
Oh boy, that was funny. You have to post that one.
Oh, I absolutely will. Yeah. I'll just have to download the audio from. Yeah, I don't know. My phone didn't record it for some reason. Anyways, you having a good day?
Trying to cure a damn pneumonia. Influenza is kicking my ass.
Yeah, that's no fun.
But at least this week I got something good. I got an article accepted to Frontiers in Immunology.
Oh, excellent.
Yay. So it's really, really good. Like when people think, do your research, like, yes, I am doing.
Do your own research. Well, I'm a scientist, so not that kind of research. Oh.
And it's really super weird trying to explain to family members and friends why it's a big deal having an article as a second author before I get my PhD. And like, you guys, just trying to say, you guys don't know that the order matters, like where the authors are. But yeah, this one was great. It was one of my models to try to uncover how T regulatory cells develop.
Oh, okay. Well,
take a breather.
Good news.
Those ones were weird.
Yeah. Hopefully the next one's not as weird. Have a good day.
And I will drop down. Bring me up only if needed. Okay. Bye.
Sounds good. I think Paul's a friendly, but I'm not 100% sure.
Hey, Planet Peterson.
What's up?
Hey, how are you?
Oh, I'm fine.
Great. Glad to hear it. I don't know if you remember me, you probably haven't, but I've been on a couple times, so thanks for the invite. Big fan of yours, very insightful. I am a Christian. I believe in the God of the Bible. I am not a flat earther. And so I actually really enjoyed what you were on a live, I think it was yesterday. The premise of the big title was like, God is not good. So can we talk about the goodness of God?
Oh, yeah. Excuse me. Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, so I would like to take the position that there is a God and that God is good. And I would like to, I would like to posit that God is good.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, God is good, and I want to debate you. So fight me.
Have you considered the argument from Nuh-uh?
Just to say no.
Yeah.
Nuh-uh.
Well, all
Yeah.
you did good, so I'll just say nuh-uh.
Yeah, no. Okay, so what I'd like to say is, when I hear the vast majority of people trying to defend the goodness of God, they get it totally wrong when they say, us, where do you think morality came from? We Christians have like good morals, and you can't have morals without a God, which makes the non-theistic or atheistic positions say that those people do not have morals. So that's I disagree with that stance, but I say that instead, I come from a point where I say the vast majority of humankind across the globe, for the most part, all have a sense of there is a difference between good and evil. And there are a vast majority of people across the globe have this somehow kind of knowledge within some kind of sense of the difference between good and evil, that people know that violence against women violence against each other is wrong. And I believe that sense of the difference between right and wrong does not come from people. That is not a natural process from humans.
Okie dokie. But isn't it a little bit inconvenient for that argument that the things we describe as being evil, wrong, immoral are things that we have extremely low tolerance for, like causing pain and suffering, including emotional pain and suffering? I wouldn't say it comes from people. Like it's not necessarily declared, but it's, I don't know what to call it, almost like a biological reality of us. And then through our language systems, we have come up with ways of describing it, which is what I think what our sense of morality is. But
there is no naturalistic way that I have been exposed. There's no argument that I've been exposed to where the difference between good and evil is a naturalistic development. I am convinced that our awareness of the difference between good and evil has come from somewhere apart from human apart from human existence.
Okay.
So that's my position on the debate.
What would it look like for good and evil to come from humans?
My assumption would be that it would be subjective. Like, any clan would say, like, there are some people who in the earth where they, the classic kind of like love your neighbor, but some other subjective group of humans eat their neighbor. So
wow. It's extraordinarily rare, but it has happened. There's ritualistic cannibalism that occurs within families too, in some groups, like in Papua New Guinea or whatever. Yes. So what I would say is, I actually talked about this in a debate I had a while back on Modern Day Debate, but I think that there's some religious well, not some, there's quite a lot of religious confusion in the world, which I don't think bodes well for the existence of God. So, for example, I wonder, if you will give me a minute here, I can actually pull it up because I want to get my thoughts. I want to state my thoughts actually properly. Okay. Moral consistencies and inconsistencies. This is it, right? Okay. For all we can tell, people with intact cognition have a pretty consistent reaction to certain stimuli and share attitudes and behaviors about them. We find things like pain and suffering intolerable, we possess a degree of empathy, and we're social creatures who can't function on selfishness alone. Because of this, what we find is group and kin-selecting behaviors are relatively consistent across every group. Now, yes, there's been barbarisms to outgroups, but religion has that as well. There's plenty of genocides in the Bible, but the in-group, there are all these rules and such where it's much more peaceful on the in-group. So in other words, we develop social norms, which we can, however, ceremony, and this goes to the subjectiveness that you kind of brought up earlier. However, ceremonial, ritualistic, purity, and observational norms, which are a form of morality, are wildly different everywhere. So are there multiple personal gods, no personal gods, or every norm of this type is culturally structured, and every norm of this type is culturally structured, or did somehow the only real personal God that exists decide to reveal himself to one particular group of people on our planet? And if so, why that group? So this thing about like what people decide is like good or bad being different across cultures, I think you're right, but it's also true that there is a huge amount of similarity between them. Whereas once we start invoking God, and God has these other rules for like you must do and do not do these other things, those are wildly different everywhere.
Okay.
Like no matter what somebody believes in religiously, they have an intolerance toward pain. They do have an empathy reflex, unless they're a psychopath, but I think we kind of know how to determine or diagnose psychopathy. And a lot of that I think makes sense in terms of biology, because like I can tell you that probably 100,000 people are going to die today throughout the world, and you don't really care. Neither do I. I mean, like it's not good, but we also don't really care very much, right? Whereas if, we're absolutely crushed when a single person that we're related to dies or whatever. And I think that actually makes perfect sense from a biological perspective.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, plenty of people in my immediate circle have passed away, and we've been devastated. But like, I think that has to do with exposure. Like, most people can't even comprehend what, like, I think it's more than like 100 people in a room. Like, if there's more than 100 people even in a room, I think the average person can't really comprehend any more than that. So like even trying to visualize
150 is about the biggest social group that like anthropological studies have bore this out. That's about the maximum that a society that lacks complex like organization can only handle about 150 people. Yeah.
So, but can I take it back to like, okay, so you gave me a little bit of ground in that, like, it seemed like what you in your past few sentences had relented to this idea that like, hey, listen, there seems to be a general sense of there's a goodness versus an evil in the majority of humankind. But my posit again is a naturalistic, non-theistic or atheistic worldview cannot explain where that has come from. That you may have heard of an argument of like, hey, listen, there's no good, there's no evil, or God can't be good, but where you need to relent in there. You have an awareness, you have a meter of the difference between good and evil. Where did that meter, your ability to tell the difference between good and evil, where did that originate in humans?
Well, I mean, I think it comes out of human cognition, and I think it is informed by survival mechanisms. Like I tried to articulate this earlier. Maybe I did a poor job of it, I guess. But all the things, virtually all the things, except for like puristic, ceremonial, ritualistic things, all of the other things that universally we regard as being completely intolerable and taboo and off limits are things that fuck with our survival.
I disagree. Hard disagree. And let me give you an example. Nazi occupied Germany, when we're hiding the Jews, and the Ten Boom family creates. They go out of their way to spend resources.
Yep.
Okay, right. The
because,
Ten Boom family.
yeah, because we have empathy. The same kind of empathy that we extend to the people, like our children. Because if you save the life of your child, you pass on your genes.
Nearly done.
We're
Nearly
capable of expanding that moral circle to people that aren't necessarily, that we aren't related to. But if they're part of our circle and part of our tribe, then they're still part of our group, and that helps the group survive, because natural selection works on populations.
No, disagree. Because to put, not only spend my resources, the Ten Boom family were not Jews. The clockmaker family had to spend their resources to build a secret compartment, and they were not Jews, but they hid the Jews, risking their own well-being and life, wasting, quote unquote, spending or wasting resources.
Mm-hmm.
That it goes directly against what you had said about, like, no, the difference between good and evil is that the Ten Boom family knew that Nazi Germany was incorrect morally, and that the Jews were not to be eradicated, and that we need the moral.
Well, then we'd want to ask the question: what did the Ten Boom family mean by "we know that they are incorrect"? Like, just factually incorrect, that there's no such thing as the Aryan race? I mean, that could be all you need, and then you could just by using your rational mind conclude that this idea of this ethnic cleansing and all this other horrible stuff, if it's rooted in a contradiction, then it can't be true, therefore it can't be justified. But then also, if the thing about it that's just morally disgusting is the indiscriminate killing, then we could look at, why do humans think that indiscriminate killing is bad? And then that could all be rooted just in a type of biological realism about the nature of human, you could say human cognition, or you could just call it human behavior.
Well, so a moment ago, I heard you pose the question, like, well, why? Why did the Ten Booms? Where did that come from? And my posit is that came from God. That came from the teachings of that God.
But this God has commanded all kinds of genocides. And I mean, the Ten Booms, I don't know if they were, I don't know anything about them. I've never heard about them before. Maybe they were Protestants. Well, that would be really awkward, because Martin Luther was, he could definitely have been Hitler's mentor, because Martin Luther advocated for stealing all the homes and properties of Jews and kicking them out of, I don't know if it was Germany or wherever he lived at the time, but Martin Luther could have written Mein Kampf. He said that they worship a false god. His argument was that the God of the Old Testament isn't even the same God of Christianity, and all this horrible stuff. So
yeah, I mean, I've heard about the anti-Semitism of Martin Luther, but like, I would consider myself a Protestant, but not because I think Martin Luther is the best role model, or like.
I know. I'm not saying Protestantism is anti-Semitism or anything like that, but it's not like you can't. It's
look up the so go ahead to add to your own education. The Ten Boom family, Corrie Ten Boom, and her father was like a clockmaker, and World War II German. I think they were Dutch. I think this was. I don't think this was in actual Germany. Actually, I think this was in a different country. But but it's an example of like, hey, listen, there are so many significant reasons for a non-naturalistic, non-self-preservation of people who go out of their way to rescue, put themselves in harm's way because they have a self-preservation kind of point of view.
Yeah,
but also
people jump into rivers to save children, which can kill them, but it can be explained biologically or like through evolution, because if you sacrifice your life to save your child, then your genes still get passed on.
Yeah, the propagation of the species, that's fine, that's fair, but sorry, maybe I lost the train of thought of. Yeah, I apologize, I lost
that's fine. I just don't understand how thinking it's wrong to go around rounding up people and sending them to Auschwitz. I don't understand why thinking that's wrong makes more sense if God exists than if God doesn't exist.
Yeah, so that brings it back to the origin, like the origin of how human people, majority of humans, originally got onto this concept of where did the difference between good and evil came from. And I'm saying to you that it was not through naturalistic processes or only biological figuring about survival of the fittest and trial and error.
Well, I don't think that humans were ever meta aware of it, but I think that is what shaped human behavior. Like raccoons wash their food, but they don't know germs exist. But you don't have to know it for it to be selectively advantageous. And again, the Bible reads like a book written by very imperfect people who didn't think that people outside their group were worth much of anything except as kindling and property, and sometimes trade partners as well.
Right.
Which makes sense biologically. If it was written by very imperfect people with some pretty severe limitations, you would see that. But because we are also fundamentally a cooperative social species, there's also some niceties in the Bible.
Can you remind me, can I just switch gears briefly, because the last two guests you let on ago was a group of sounded like multiple people. They were trying to that was a hoot. I got some good laughs.
It was pretty fun. Yeah,
that was wild. That was a wild ride. And I was listening to these guys. I'm like, I know what they're trying to say, and they're just so close, but so stupidly expressing it, and it embarrasses me to be like, no, I know what they're trying to say. They're just saying it so incorrectly. So I'm trying to rack my brain about the last couple of points that you were talking about, because I took issue with what you said, but I also took issue with how that group of people were saying it.
Well, we were talking about where goodness comes from, and they said it comes from God. I said, then if God told you to do something, then would it be good?
So I'll get roasted alive for this point of view, and canceled and whatever. But here's the thing: if there, God is the quantum reference point.
What the hell does that mean?
So quantum reference point. So like the intrinsic base reference point of all of the cosmos for what is the standard of goodness. So like if God says red is blue, then it's going to be that. And like if God says a certain way and a certain standard of things is good, then like the reality will change to become that way. So
look, if you want to believe that, that's fine, but you don't get to at the same time claim that this is objective. Like I am a moral relativist, and being a moral relativist doesn't mean that you have to accept what everybody says as being equally morally good. I can condemn all kinds of things. It's just the recognition and the acceptance that other people will have different ideas about what they think is good or bad. And that's it's subjective and it's relative. If morality comes from God and he can just declare things are different one day versus the next, then if this God is capricious like that, then the morality is subjective, not objective. And so if you want to believe that it comes from the God, then that's fine. But that doesn't in any sense make these moral facts or make these moral claims facts. It doesn't make them true. They're just completely subjective by nature.
Subjective to who?
To God in this case.
Yeah, and so that if that's true, like that's fine, because then like I see no issue with that.
The issue is if I arbitrarily say the standard for goodness is human well-being, then I have declared that in no less arbitrary a way than you have by saying God is the standard. And so there's no such thing as I'm wrong and you're right in this argument. People use this to pretend that it does work that way, because then they say, well, if there's no God, then you can't say blank is correct. But if God says that blank is now all of a sudden fine when we all think it's wrong, then the religious person has to be committed to saying to agreeing, I guess. So there's no
Okay. Curious. You know, I watch your lives and I get a fair amount of entertainment seeing you go back and forth with people who relatively take my position. But I've noticed that, like, I'll say it flat out, like, why aren't you roasting me?
Because you don't sound like you're arguing in bad faith, and you didn't come up here to the number one thing. People like really get surprised every now and then. I'm like, wow, Planet Peterson was totally chill. You know, I guess I have a reputation or whatever. I only get that way with people that are completely sanctimonious, with people who just they think their shit doesn't stink, you know, and who just come out the gate just being obnoxious. And I also, from time to time, it started pretty early with those guys from before, because they were up here saying people that think that just because you have an argument that proves something is just so incredibly annoying to me. So I clown around with them, and we all saw that happen,
so but in those times where you're provoked by people with ill manners is when I've seen you at your most voracious with bringing out you pull out all the stops, man, and you bring up all these arguments, and that's the time when I want to join the debate the most, and because you pull out all the stops, and like it's no holds bar for you bringing out all the arguments, and but you're saying like that's not your actual true argumentation form, and you're like you don't really believe all that stuff. You're just kind of like being a wise ass yourself.
Well, what I was mainly trying to say is you reap what you sow. So, you know, if you come up here and you're arguing in good faith, you're not trying to do gotchas, you're waiting your turn, you're not being sanctimonious, then I don't have any reason to be. That would delegitimize any point that I'm trying to make. But I will match energies.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. All right, that's satisfied. But so then let me stir the pot again. So like I don't think that the earth is flat. I think creationism is a wonderful idea. And I think that there is great empirical evidence for God.
Empirical evidence.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, like what?
Yeah. Yeah. So you.
Oh,
so
wait, hold on. Sorry. You fucking idiot! No, I'm just kidding. So
Yeah. Ha, ha, ha. Oh, now I'll subscribe. Now I'll send you the galaxy. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, dance monkey, dance. Yeah. Perform for me, clapping cymbal monkey. No, just kidding. No. So, yeah, the empirical evidence. So, like, I have reason to believe that the New Testament is a historically reliable document, and in which describes a man who was executed by the state, proven dead by various wonderful, like authentic ways of knowing that the human being was dead, and then that same person was alive again.
well, I agree that he got executed. And people try to I don't understand why people try to do this. They say, oh, well, when his side got pierced, it says that blood and water flowed out of him. That's a pleural effusion. Ancient people couldn't have possibly known about pleural effusions, blah, blah, blah. Like, there aren't that many people, us atheists, there really aren't that many of us that don't think he ever existed or that he wasn't crucified or anything like that. So, like, to call, like, they use, I guess they're trying to use that as a historical example that, like, validates what the text is saying. But I never denied those parts of it. The idea that he got up later and was walking around, and that the tombs of all the saints opened, and 500 of them walked, or no, I don't remember if there's a number for that, but they walked around and talked to people. That's where my bullshit meter goes off hardcore.
Okay, right. So, the New Testament is a reliable historical document, and the New Testament describes Jesus Jesus of Nazareth was dead and was raised from the dead.
That's what the book says, but there were I don't remember which Roman emperor it was, but like only a few days after he died, there are accounts of people saying that they saw him. And I mean, we have actual physical empirical evidence that is contemporary to prove that those emperors exist. We don't have anything like that for Jesus. Again, I don't deny that Jesus existed, but there isn't a single piece of anything from the time he was alive that can be connected to him, or for any character in the New Testament really at all. So, I mean, but nobody thinks that that one of these Roman emperors resurrected, you know? And my skepticism of that is the same skepticism, or sorry, the skepticism you have of that is the same skepticism I have for your claim, and the fact that there are things which may be historical facts, or which pose no problem. Like, yeah, the Golgotha, maybe we find where Golgotha actually was. We know that Pontius Pilate existed because there are Roman records of him. Okay, that doesn't prove that Jesus rose from the dead in any way.
Sure. Yeah. So I would say to your Roman emperor who was seen after, like, who are those people? Who are those people? Were those his closest friends?
I don't know. Again, I don't know who they are. I'm just aware that this is a historical. Well, no, you can think I'm making this up, that I have not heard the Myth Vision podcast and Justin talk about this, but no, this is.
So my claim is that, like, no, these were his best friends who for 3 years, like, ate, slept, drank, walked around, saw Jesus. Like, they had shook hands with Jesus, bro hugged, dapped, did the Seder Passover meal with him, broke bread and ate with this guy, had inside jokes, probably farted a bunch and laughed at it. Okay, like these are the dudes who went on tour for 3 years with Jesus of Nazareth. The guys who knew him the best and knew him the closest, who then cowered at his death and then had a 180 for, again, at the risk to their health and well-being.
Mm-hmm.
Started saying, no, Jesus is alive again, man. Jesus, he's alive, and not just a spiritual religious nicety. Like, no, he physically, it's the same. It is him, and he's alive. And so like went to the, so like nobody, I don't know who, I've never heard of, but I'm open. I've never heard of what you just said about like the Emperor of Rome who was seen dead, and then a bunch of people, some random people. I don't know. Who are those people who saw him alive? Like, I'd like more information on that. And like, yeah, I mean, I have healthy skepticism. But it's like, but I'm open. So who are they? Who are the people? Are these the people who are next to him? His closest friends who traveled with him, who dapped him, who ate around the same table as him, who like farted.
People are saying that it was, like, in the chat, people are spamming Nero. When I typed this into Google, I'm trying not to read it because I can't read stuff and pay attention at the same time, but they're claiming it was Nero. And that's actually really interesting because why would people, nobody liked Nero. So I could just make the argument, well, why would the most hated person would people claim that he was resurrected and was walking around, etc. But I don't really want to compare them. I'm really just interested in talking about this claim here with the Bible, because what I could point to is, the Heaven's Gate cult. They firmly believed that there was a starship hiding. It was like hiding behind Jupiter, and it was going to arrive here when Halley's Comet got here or something like that. They took their lives. They died for something that they believed, but that doesn't make it true. The other awkward thing about the gospel story is we have absolutely no idea who wrote those stories, if it was them or not.
The people who wrote the New Testament, right? So I mean, like,
most of that's written by Paul, so I'm not talking about Paul. I'm talking about, because Paul doesn't say one peep about the resurrection at all.
That's not true.
Or no, wait, why did I say that? That's not true. Because he does. What is it that he doesn't talk about? What the hell? What am I for? I don't know. I mixed something up there. But yes, it's Paul that gives the 500 witnesses thing. But he just says that people told him that happened, for example. Okay, I don't know what kind of brain fart I was having there. But
there you go. And then after his list of witnesses, then he said, and then finally Christ appeared to me, the chief of sinners. Paul says in his letters that the risen Christ had appeared to him.
That he says he saw a great light.
No,
when he was walking to Damascus, it literally just says that he saw it's like a bright flash of light or something. How would he know what Jesus looks like? Yeah, I mean that's a good. I mean, he could just say to him, I am Jesus or whatever. Why did I say that about Paul? That was so stupid to me. I know he never talks about miracles, that any of the like miracles that Jesus, like, he doesn't quote Jesus hardly at all. He doesn't talk about the trial or anything like that, but Paul, we can't hear you. You're off the app. Brain gas? Yeah, I mean,
Hello. Am I
Hi.
back? Okay,
Hi.
yeah. My phone. I get too distracted by looking at TikTok if you let me on here, so I actually don't even look at the app. So my phone just like locked after
Right.
So okay, so Paul says in his letters in the New Testament, in that list of witnesses, and then Christ appeared to such and yada yada yada, and then he says, and then Christ appeared to me as one. Yeah, fucked. Okay, and I'm back. Am I back?
Yeah.
I closed the app a bit. I'm trying to look it up in the Bible, and then Christ appeared to me last, as if one born like late in time, chief of sinners. But Paul says that Christ appeared to him. And then what you're referring to about like Road to Damascus, that wasn't written by Paul. Acts was written by Luke, and Luke's testimony of what happened to Paul, probably told to Luke by the other disciples and by the people who were alive at that time, recounting to Luke, when Paul was on the road to Damascus, he saw a bright light, knocked him off his horse, and then Paul said, "Who are you?" Yeah, he didn't know what Jesus looked like, but Paul was like, "Hey, what's going on? Who are you?" And then the voice said, "I am Jesus, who you persecute." Okay, so the evidence for God, the New Testament is a very reliable historical document, and in that document there are plethora of miracles done by Jesus.
Well, that's what it says, yeah. But now we have to ask: are those claims historical or not?
Yes. Yeah, and it is my understanding that the New Testament is a reliable historical document. Yes.
That, I mean, again, does the Bible talk about places and things that really existed? Yes. Like if I wrote a story about George Washington, and it's just straight up, it's got all the facts right, the crossing of the whichever river that was. Why the hell can't the Potomac? No, that's where he lived. What the hell river are they crossing in that painting? Man, I can't.
Yeah, the Delaware.
Oh, I wanted to say Delaware, but I was telling myself that that's not right, but that's why I should never doubt myself. So I get all these things right. The horrible winter at Fort Ticonderoga, I think it was called. And then I say, oh, and like this one time George Washington pointed his finger at a lady and she exploded. I was like, whatever. Like the historical facts don't make this ridiculous claim any more believable. And that's because the historicity of the Bible with regard to those things it can not only be cross-referenced with what other people said, but it can be, I don't know how I want to say this properly in English, it can be gone and found. You can go and get it if you want to. But turning water into wine at a wedding, dividing the fish, resurrecting, whatever, like all these things, like they leave absolutely no evidence behind whatsoever except for stories. And I don't believe anybody's miraculous stories, and you don't believe any other religion's miraculous stories. And despite what people, I mean, we have the written affidavits of people that said the angel Moroni appeared to them. We have their actual handwriting for that, and they never recanted that belief. But I don't believe it because that's not good enough for me to believe. And the gospel's existing isn't good enough for me to believe miracles either.
Let me go back to your example of George Washington, and then he pointed a finger and then she blew up. A great historical thing until it was a very out of the ordinary event. I would just say well, who are you? What, why are you writing this document? Were you there? Did you see this? And I don't know how old you are, but you look like you're probably in your 30s. And I would say George Washington was alive hundreds of years ago, so I would find that extremely difficult to believe that you were there to see that. So are you writing this as
the Gospels were written down decades after Jesus died, but we don't even have any of those Gospels. We don't have any complete ones until a couple hundred years after he died. So it'd actually be kind of the same.
No.
What do you mean by no?
No, I mean, like, so for example, John, the Gospel of John surely was written by John, like best friend.
No,
yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No, the vast majority of people that study this don't think that the Gospels were written by his actual apostles.
No. Well,
some do, most don't.
Full disagree. So I have studied this. And my understanding,
it actually doesn't matter because we don't know what John wrote down because we don't have John's writing. We have no idea how faithful the Gospels that we have today are to the original Gospels because we don't have the original Gospels.
No, so I mean, like the earliest and I've spoken to you about this before. The earliest manuscripts that we have are not the original documents that John had written on the papyrus, but we have only a few years, only a few very.
That's not true. The earliest piece of gospel writing is called P152, and it's from around the year 130 to 140, but it contains only like 30 words on it, is all. The oldest complete gospels are a few hundred years after Jesus died. P52, not P152. Oh, my bad.
Yeah. No, that's fine. So that still is much more reliable than you being alive in 2025 writing about, George Washington, who had lived.
I lived closer to the time of George Washington than the earliest complete gospels are to the time of Jesus. Or by about 100 years.
You're saying that the oldest manuscript that we have of the Gospel of John is how many years before the life of Jesus?
The oldest complete ones are a few hundred years after Jesus. I don't remember which one's the oldest, if it's Vaticanus, the Alexandria one, or Sinaiticus or whatever. I don't remember, but they're hundreds of they are 3rd and 4th century. That's what I do remember.
And these were copies.
Yeah.
Of letters and oral traditions that had been passed down by a culture that is not like ours and not like the game telephone.
Yes, it is.
Oh, my friend, no. I cringe down to my toes whenever I hear people like who have your position who say like, "Have you ever heard the game telephone?"
What do you mean, you people?
Yeah, you.
As Robert Downey Jr. said, "What do you mean, you people?"
Yeah, you nasty atheist, you disgusting putrid of society. No, just kidding. No. The people, I grow exhaustively, eyes rolling around in my head when I hear like it's like the game of telephone, whereas the game of telephone is meant to be funny. It's meant to be shared amongst people who are kind of like, that's kind of the point of the game, is that the message gets messed up. That's why it's funny. That's why it's
people aren't trying to mess up.
Right, but they're whispering it into each other's ears, and it's not like a well-established known thing in the village. Jewish culture is like, we're all the oral traditions of our ancestors. We are passing it down generation to generation, and we got to do it accurately, like in a group, out loud. And they're like,
Except we know that they failed to do this because the Masoretic text, for example, says that Goliath was about 10 feet tall, But the older manuscripts, like the Dead Sea Scrolls and the Septuagint, say that he was 3 feet shorter than that. So we know that they fuck stuff up all the time, whether on purpose or on accident.
If I need to somehow stay in the app, but also try to. You saying Masoretic? Say it one more time. Masoretic.
The Masoretic text, which is like 6th, 7th, 8th century, something like that. It's the Hebrew Bible, essentially. It's the Old Testament. It says that Goliath was 6 cubits in a span tall, which is about 10 feet tall. But our older copies, like what we find in the Dead Sea Scrolls and in the Septuagint, the Greek Old Testament, which is what the writers of the Gospels would have referenced for a lot of things, it says that Goliath is only, I don't know if it's 3 or 4 cubits in a span, but it makes him effectively about 6 foot 7 inches tall. So these people that said it was really important that we preserve the details, we know for a fact. I mean, I'm just some dipshit. That's the only example I know, but there's no way that that's the only example. We know that doesn't happen.
Well, I'm glad you are willing to admit the dipshittedness.
Mm-hmm.
No, just friendly fire. Just kidding. So, well, then, okay. So that means that like the Dead Sea, the Qumran caves, the Dead Sea Scroll was a profound discovery that helped legitimize the quality transfer through the ages of the message of the Bible. Like Isaiah.
Sort of, but you know,
yeah.
but there's nothing in the New Testament in any of the Dead Sea Scrolls.
I do realize. I mean, I was talking about New Testament. I think you are the one who brought up Goliath. So I was following you.
I brought that up because you brought up the Jewish tradition of that it's not like the game of telephone, that they have to preserve things, but we know that that's not the case.
That's right. Well, it's fair.
And also, like, we know with the manuscripts, they get more different the farther back you go. They've been standardized for a really long time. The Bibles you read today are very, 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 very similar to the Bibles from 100 years ago, and 200, and 300, and 400, and 500 years ago. But when we get to those earliest copies of the Gospels, and we compare them to partial fragments of pieces of the New Testament that are older than that, the farther back we go, the more different they get. So we really don't know to what degree the original message that the Gospels, for example, wrote out, or Paul's letters, we don't know to what degree those have been bastardized. And in many cases, we actually have examples where it has been changed, where we can see additions made by people.
Mm-hmm. All right. I know the chat's going to roast me alive for saying this. They're going to think I'm a quitter, but it is coming up on 3 o'clock, and I actually do have to get. Yeah. There goes my break. Well, to all the haters in the chat, you say what you want.
I hate you too. That's what you say.
To
all the haters in the chat, I hate you too.
I hate you with the hate. Hate you with all of Christianity's hatred. All the violence of the Crusades. May it rain down upon all of you there. I'll leave you with my best Christian blessing of all time. There you go.
All right, it's funny.
Thanks, Planet.
You're welcome.
I'll buy out. About. Thank you.
Oh. What the hell does that mean? What does that even mean? Oh, anyways, sorry. I had to look at something on my phone. Oy.
Yo, how's it going, man?
Oh, it's going fine.
All right, so first off, do you agree that morality is exclusive to an individual and subject to change with the proximity of circumstance?
I don't know if I wouldn't say that it's unique to the individual.
Okay, I'll accept that. So when you asked the other fella a little while back, you said if God asks something or declares something and commands, it's got to be good, right? But then my question would be, how come in Ezekiel, when God's like, hey, I want you to bake bread using human shit and I want you to eat it in the sight of men, and Ezekiel was like, good God, no, I've never done such a thing. And then God's like, okay, I'll allow this. How come that wasn't considered good when God said that?
That's a good question.
And I notice these things. Like don't get me wrong, I'm a believer. I am. I believe in Jesus Christ, the death and resurrection. But I also believe that the term Christian is a derogatory term. It was people at Antioch calling these believers Christians. And I think that's why it says, if they choose to call themselves Christians, let them not be ashamed, because it's a derogatory term. I believe that. Now, concerning the Gospels only showing up like 200 years later, in 2 Thessalonians, it actually teaches that there was a persecution going on, that Christians were being hunted down, and their like scriptures were being burnt, their houses were being destroyed. And it states that only after these persecutions, only then are the Gospels remaining, which is why they're only showing up like years after, right? Like, does that make sense? That like if you're hunting down a certain people with a certain ideology and a certain religion, and you're burning their scriptures, burning their books, burning their houses and their belongings, arresting them.
Yeah, they create a mythology about themselves. Yeah.
Yeah, sort of.
This is why this is happening, because we're actually super special.
Yeah, well, sort of. I wouldn't say special. You do know that the Bible's a book about, it's not a book about good people, right? Like all through the Bible, it's
some of them are good.
Maybe the prophets, but even then I wouldn't call them good. They even called themselves not good. One said, I'm a man of unclean lips. He was like, I talk mad shit.
I talk mad shit.
Yeah, I think that might have been, who was that? I think that might have been Jonah, maybe, or it could have been, what's that other guy's name?
Call me, maybe?
The fire down from the sky there with the bears, the bear guy.
Oh, Elisha?
Yeah, Elijah. So I think some of those guys are like what we would call good dudes. Like, but it's a language barrier. Like some of those dudes we'd call good dudes. I like Elijah, but I don't see the bear thing how everybody else does. Now, concerning the miracles, and I assume you read the Bible. I actually believe you read the Bible, or a lot of it.
Not the entire thing, but yeah.
Neither of most Christians. Let's be real. So it's a book club where everybody in the club has never really read the book. That's what it seems like to me. Now, when you brought up the miracle of water into wine, were you aware that the wine that Jesus served them, they're the ones that claimed that it was wine, and also he served them out of ceremonial washing jars where Jews washed their dirty, disgusting hands before they ate? Does this sound like a miracle, or does this sound like somebody's paying back somebody who's bugging his mom for booze?
I don't know, man. Go with booze, I guess.
Yeah, they're bugging his mom for more booze. They're drunk. They drank it all. He took empty wineskins, filled up the kitchen sink, took the water out of the dirty hand wash, and then served it to them. And they said it was the best wine. That's why when they were like, hey, how come your buddies don't wash their hands before they eat? He was basically like, you would drink what they wash off their hands. It's not what goes into a man that makes someone unclean. It's what comes out. And he also said one does not put old wine or new wine into old wineskins. So he told them right then and there who they were. And then his buddies come out and they're like, what's all this then? And he's like, are you guys so dumb? You don't know? They're sitting here bitching about something that doesn't even matter. They're being idiots. He even called his friends idiots. He's like, are you guys dumb? They're here asking why you guys aren't washing your hands, but they were drinking out of the ceremonial washing jars.
Mm.
And then when it comes to the miracle of the loaves, like he broke it, prayed over it, and then passed it out. Do you think it's more of a miracle that he made magic bread and fish, or more of a miracle that a whole bunch of people put food into the basket instead of take food out? It's obvious that they put food into the baskets. And then concerning Jesus at post-resurrection, the guy doesn't have a beard or hair. He just got an ass whooping for like 12 hours, and he's in rough shape. He wasn't put in the tomb because when they opened the tomb was empty, and then they're directed to go to the house where he's laying. And then they all meet at the house, lock the windows and doors because the cops are after him. The fuzz is on him, bro. And
The fuzz is on him.
yeah, dude. The Jewish fuzz and the Romans. I think the Romans liked him. I think most of the Romans actually like Jesus. I got to be honest. From what I've read, most of the Romans kind of like him. But then they meet at the house.
I don't think so at all. I think early Christians made a deliberate political decision to, and if you read John, it reads this way, where they shift the blame for his death on the Jews because they wanted their religion to take root, and it existed in the Roman Empire. So no, I think Jesus was crucified for insurrection. I think that was his crime, which is a crime against Rome, not against the Jews or anything like that.
Well, yeah, it actually tells when they decide, like it says when they decide. Once when he was like a little kid, he talked mad shit, and then they tried to throw him off a cliff. And then when he went in and flipped tables and made a whip, it says, and then they decided how they were going to kill him. So, yeah, absolutely. So I think with a lot of the magic and mysticism, I think if you wipe that off, like a lot of this makes sense. It says, cursed is the man who adds or takes away from the prophecies of this book. I don't think that's specifically Revelation. I think it's literally saying people are going to change the words of this book, man. It's implying that it's going to change, that people are going to muddy the waters. And Jesus, it's quoted in there. It says, these words will pass away, but my words will never pass away. And the reason why is, and what I think he means there, is that the truth isn't going to change. What I'm saying now is going to be true in 20 years from now, 50 years from now, 100 years from now. So I think it's just the way most typical Christians read the book. Like when they read in this life and the life that is to come, the life that is to come is your future. It's not some next dimension you get teleported in. The book doesn't even say that. It says these things are good now and for the life that is to come. That's your future. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. I just wanted to point out a few weird things that Christians are arguing with you that I think is absolutely ridiculous. And then that's about it. So basically, take away from this, the first thing I brought up, Ezekiel was told to eat shit, and he said no.
I forgot that's how this started. Okay, yeah. I will do. No, he left. What do we got? I think that might actually do it for me for today. Yeah, because I don't have any guests or anything. Oh man, that was fun. So yeah, let me see. Can I? Okay, there should be sound now. You should be able to hear me now, I think. I've already been wrong once. Okay, it works. That was fun. That was a wild ride. That first group of guys, they were so. The God defeating penguin remains undefeated. Yes, folks. The way you prove something is to just create a deductive argument and then claim that the subjects in your deductive argument have to exist. Something like that. You and DZ are at 30K. That's way more impressive for him because I've been doing this for a lot longer than him. I don't know when he started. I'll go look at his YouTube channel. When is his first video? Videos oldest. Only like a year ago. Yeah. So, yeah. Blitz passed me by like 30,000 on TikTok, but I stopped posting videos to TikTok. Who knows where I'd be at on TikTok? But that was kind of always my thing. I was always like, I have to be ahead of Blitz. And I don't know when he overtook me, but I always was. But then I quit TikTok. And so I haven't gotten any followers on TikTok in a really, really long time. He says 2 months, but he tripled in like 2 months. Yeah, I remember looking at his channel and being like, okay, yeah, it's kind of small, but it'll take off. But yeah, his viewer engagement is really awesome. I don't know why, but I cannot get my computer to stream. What I want to do is make it so that you guys see this. This is what the TikTok stream looks like. And then I just pull in the audio. And I know how to do it, but it never works. Some of you have seen that before. All hail the penguin? Absolutely. If you're not hailing the penguin, what are you even doing with your life? Okay, it is. I will take 3 audience questions and then I got to get out of here. Oh, Dexter, I've seen you ask this a lot. The debates I'm doing are only on TikTok, but I do plan on every now and then during weekdays when I do these live streams, I'll have that Google Meets thing open so people can come in. I just got to figure out. I know how to do that with OBS, but I'm not sure how to. Well, no, I can just share the StreamYard link and bring people in. So yeah, there we go. I want to talk about AI art, music, video generation, where you think it's headed, implications for current content creators, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if the video generating stuff for AI in like 5 years is indistinguishable from like real footage, then you could just farm content like crazy, but you'd probably the computing cost of that might be really high. So I don't know. It could be fine. Because what's great about YouTube is it has extremely low buy-in. Anybody can do this. And that's what's great about it. Like a guy like Doug DeMuro, he was literally just his whole career is only very recently changed, but he built a $50 million company by filming with an iPhone and then having a clip-on lapel mic and doing all his editing in iMovie, But if it turns into this thing where you can only really make it on YouTube if you have a shitload of money in the first place, because of all that, then yeah, that would be bad. On December 1st, you only had 7K subs. That's actually pretty crazy. Debate AI Jesus. No, actually, funny enough, I had an idea for doing this. What was it about though? I had this idea that Oh, I gotta go. I just got an update that somebody's coming to my house to do some work, so I gotta actually go here pretty soon. But I had this idea for like, because some people are just kind of dishonest debaters. I was like, look, you know what? Have this argument with ChatGPT and then upload it. Like, tell ChatGPT to take the opposing position, because it can think on the fly, and it'll be able to weed out if what you're saying contains like a contradiction in it or anything like that. So I thought that was an interesting idea. But I've thought about that before. Maybe I'll debate ChatGPT on a particular topic or something. Sounds like an interesting idea, but I don't know. Alex O'Connor does a lot of ChatGPT videos. Well, I said I was going to take questions, but nobody asked any. So I will have to go. Believe it or not, there is an AI Jesus on Twitch for years now. Interesting. Do some work on your plugged plumbing? Oh, no, it's not that. It's internet stuff, actually. So let's play the outro music, and I'll see you guys later.